Hello there, you're watching the Press Preview, our first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. And it's time to see what's making the headlines with the Daily Mail's consultant editor, Andrew Pearce, and the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire. So very good evening to both of you. Really lovely to see you both.
Lovely to see you, Anna.
And they will be with us from now until just before midnight. So lots to talk about. Let's take a look, first of all, at the front pages of tomorrow's papers. And The Guardian leads on the news that all children aged 5 to 11 will be offered a COVID jab. In the wake of Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre and the opening of a police investigation into allegations of cash for honours at one of Prince Charles's charities, the Metro has the headline Plutonium Jubilee. But The Sun is in an upbeat mood, declaring, thank God for the Queen. The Daily Mail, however, reports that Prince Charles could be interviewed by the police as they investigate claims that over his charity over allegations of cash for honours, which is also the lead for The Times. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, writes for The Telegraph, insisting the Russian President Vladimir Putin will deliberately prolong the crisis in Ukraine in an attempt to test the mettle of the West. The Financial Times hears that the French government is calling for an overhaul of EU security protocols in an attempt to better tackle the Ukrainian situation. And a reminder that by scanning the QR code that you can see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. So, Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire here with me to go through some of those papers. And a lot of front pages go, Andrew, with the royal family, with Prince Charles being the latest to hit the headlines. You've picked out the Daily Mail's take on it, first of all. Charles facing police quiz over cash for honours, coming hard on the heels of Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre in the civil case yesterday.
Yeah, so this is, you could hardly make it up. It couldn't have been a worse 24 hours for the royal family. You think back to the Queen's annus horribilis in 1992 when everything seemed to go wrong, divorces and fires at Windsor Castle. But now the future king, the heir to the throne, may be questioned by the police over allegations that someone within his Prince's Foundation was offering in return for donations to bump up honours for at least one Saudi businessman. This was widely reported in the Mail on Sunday and the Sunday Times last autumn. And now the police have decided there's enough there to warrant a full investigation. Why they announced it today, I've no idea, but it's extraordinary timing. We've barely caught our breath from the shockwaves of Prince Andrew falling on his sword, making a settlement with Virginia Giuffre when we were told only a week ago he was going to fight it in court. Then to hear that the Prince of Wales may be questioned himself is astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. Obviously, it's an investigation. There's a lot of ground can be covered before it gets very serious. But the mere idea of Prince Charles potentially being questioned by the police, when we might have our own Prime Minister being questioned by the police too, probably a similar unit of police officers, we're in uncharted waters here.
Well, yes, and Clarence House have reiterated its previous insistence, haven't they, that Prince Charles had no knowledge of the alleged offer of honours or British citizenship on the basis of a donation to his charities, and they point out that he's president of the foundation but isn't involved with its governance, with the charity's trustees overseeing day-to-day activities. But, Kevin, what do you make of this? The Met Police announcing that they are going to be investigating this, the fact that they're putting it into the public domain, is that a measure of the seriousness with which they're taking this?
Yeah, Prince Charles was quite happy when the foundation bought Dumfries House in Scotland, which he rather likes. Anyway, I was surprised at the timing. Presumably it was pre-planned. Prince Andrew may be breathing a slight sigh of relief that the focus has gone from him to some extent to his elder brother, heir to the throne, who may have got tough with him down the line when their mother leaves this mortal coil at some time. But what a mess for the royals. This is a family that's supposed to be above all others, superior. It's a hereditary family, always head of state. They have very privileged, entitled positions. And this is an incredible mess. And I hear Prince Charles, and we hear his denials, but the sale of honours is illegal. It has been since 1925, after Lloyd George, then a Liberal and a National Liberal Prime Minister, was found to have been selling knighthoods for 10,000. I think it was baronetcies for 30,000 and peerages for 50,000. Plus, there was an investigation by the police into allegations during Tony Blair's reign. No charges were brought. The police aren't investigating allegations that Conservative Party treasurers seem to get peerages after they've given 3 million plus and spent their time here. But this is incredibly serious for somebody like for Prince Charles. Given that he's one of those who gets his sword out and puts it on the shoulders and hands out the medals and pins them on people's chests, says he has nothing to do about it. But you can't imagine a worse time for the royals on the back of Andrew's settlement, 10, 12 million, giving money to a woman he claimed he'd never met and didn't know, ahead of the Queen's Jubilee, a platinum Jubilee in the summer. It all feels to be falling apart.
Well, yes, you say Platinum Jubilee. The Metro calls it Plutonium Jubilee, don't they, Andrew? An explosive headline there. They talk about it being another royal scandal. And there are photographs of the Queen seen in public. We've seen her doing Zoom calls, but this was a meeting I think she had in person today. And obviously everyone pleased to see her up on her feet. This does, to a certain extent, take the shine off a year that's supposed to be all about celebration for her.
Yeah, look, this is one of the most important years of her reign, if not the most important. No other monarch in our history has got to 70 years. She got to that point on February the 6th, which was when she acceded to the throne on the death of her father, George the 6th. June is penciled in. It's not penciled in. Is inked in for a series of celebrations, 2 bank holidays. The whole country, even Kevin Maguire, might be cheering and giving thanks for the fantastic 70 years of service she's given. And yet the year is being dominated. Now, of course he won't, because he's Republican Kev. But of course the year is being overshadowed by 2 great scandals. It's a great scandal involving Prince Andrew. The Queen is almost certainly going to have to contribute to the cost of the legal settlement. That money cannot come from public funds because there would rightly be an outcry over that. So I think there's going to have to be some transparency over that. And then, of course, Charles is in trouble, and it's all linked to the man who's been with him for 25, 30 years, Michael Fawcett, who ran the Prince's Foundation, the man who wrote the letter to this Saudi businessman, a billionaire, a man who gave a lot of money to Dumfries House up in Scotland, which is one of Prince Charles's pet projects. He was first of all suspended, and then he resigned from working for the Prince. And that was a big blow for Prince Charles, because Fawcett and Prince Charles were almost inseparable. He is the official, I can tell you, it's not an urban myth. He is the official who once put toothpaste on Prince Charles' toothbrush because Prince Charles had knackered one of his arms and couldn't do it himself. That shows how close they have been.
And he will no doubt be denying these allegations.
Yes.
Looking at the Metro here with this Plutonium Jubilee headline, Kevin, you were saying that in some ways Prince Andrew will be breathing a sigh of relief because it's not him on the front pages for a second day in a row. And yet there's been a lot of discussion through the day today, hasn't there, about the case that he has settled. And Andrew mentioned the money there. Do you think we will find out how much money has been paid and where it's come from?
I think we deserve to know, because these aren't private matters. This is somebody who's in line to the throne, part of a ruling hereditary monarchy that is there through public acceptance, really. Look, they're descended from warlords, but they're tolerated or supported because they're seen to be better and good for the country. Now, if one of them is settling a sex abuse case with a woman he claimed he didn't know, and then his team was smearing, and all of a sudden she's getting 10 to 12 million pounds money going to her charity, apologies are issued in a grovelling statement, all of a sudden Prince Andrew's going to campaign against sex trafficking, which, given the allegations, I find a bit stomach churning. We deserve to know. We also deserve to know what his mother as the monarch has paid, both from the sovereign grant and the inherited wealth that she has. They can't just claim they're ordinary citizens, because they're not. It just isn't the case. But we see what links the two scandals, and they are scandals, one involving Prince Charles, and I know he is denying any knowledge, and Prince Andrew, who is denying any guilt or wrongdoing. What links them is they're giving elevated positions, they have huge entitlement, they have considerable patronage and incredible privilege. And it is, how is that exercised? And is it good in a modern democracy that you have these people who are there just by a throw of the DNA dice and an accident of birth being elevated against all others?
Okay.
And I would suggest, and I'm sorry for the Queen on a human level, she's 95, she lost her husband, you've got to feel sorry for her, but the whole Ruritanian nonsense is just falling apart.
OK, and that brings us to, Andrew, I know you're shaking your head, I just want to show everyone that the sun here, thank God for the Queen. I mean, do you think, as Kevin is hinting there, that this might put people off the whole idea of the monarchy, or do you think the Queen's popularity means that people are all for the royal family? Do you think this changes anything?
I think that it's not good. It's a very bad couple of days for the royal family, and if this police investigation into Charles goes much further, that will be bad too. But look, the Queen is hugely popular, incredibly popular. She won't use any of the sovereign grant to settle Andrew's bills. It'll come from her own private income, which we don't know how large it is, but we know she's got a private income. She will be fastidious and make sure everything is done properly. And I tell you, there will be street parties, there will be buntings, there will be great happiness when it's the Queen's Jubilee celebrations in June. Old curmudgeonly Maguire might not be. He'll probably clear off out of the country with all his Republican mates. Well, good riddance. We don't need him here. We'll all have a very good time. And let me tell you, when the Queen departs, and we don't want to lose her, Charles will be a very popular king. And in the years after that, William and Kate will be even more popular. They're the great stars in the making.
Kevin, we haven't really got time. 2 seconds.
Yes, Andrew bending the knee cannot guarantee that Charles will be popular. I don't doubt the Queen's popularity, but the problem for the monarchy, a hereditary monarchy, is she is popular, but what comes next is not guaranteed to be popular.
OK, and just as I end this particular section, I do want to show everyone the Matt cartoon. It's someone it's a fireperson. What do you say these days? I can't remember. Go and check that Windsor Castle hasn't caught fire. They say the Queen is having one of those years. So a great cartoon from Matt, as ever. We're going to take a pause right there. Don't go anywhere. Let's tell you what's coming up after the break. Is Vladimir Putin trying to deliberately prolong the crisis in Ukraine? We'll discuss that next. Welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me tonight, Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire. And we've got the chunky subjects of Ukraine and COVID to grapple with in this short section. But let's take a look at the Daily Telegraph, Andrew, shall we? And they've got an interview with the Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, Liz Truss, it's an article she's written, actually, Anna, and she's saying that she thinks this brinkmanship could go on for months. And I think she's absolutely right. I've thought for quite a while now that Putin is not going to go piling in for Ukraine. It would be a long and bloody conflict. It could be dragged on for months and months. He's only painfully aware of how winter wars can go horribly wrong. He's built up the biggest troops mass we've seen in Europe since the Second World War. And I think this is his policy. He's mobilizing and he's galvanizing public opinion. And I think that's what it's all about. It's showmanship from the great showman and the great PR operator that's Vladimir Putin. He's a terrible old gangster, and he's got Ukraine completely under his thumb. And he's got all these world leaders rushing to Moscow to jaw with him. And I think he's just reveling in all of it.
And Kevin, it's interesting that Andrew there talks about Putin being a PR man, but it's interesting the PR that the Western allies have put forward as well. We heard from the US president that they thought a particular time was the timing of the invasion. We've got Liz Truss now writing articles about it. Is this quite unusual, this kind of very open discussion of the tactics?
Yeah, well, this is Liz Truss, who yesterday was saying the invasion was imminent. Now she's saying he could drag up this crisis on for months. And of course he could, because Putin is a very dangerous nationalist or authoritarian. but he will play games, and I think Western countries have to be a bit more careful how our politicians respond, because at one point you had voices in London and Washington being far more hysterical about it than in Kiev, in Ukraine itself, and he will play games. Now the Ukrainians have been used to this for 8 years since the annexation of the Crimea.
We'll be able to discuss this in more detail a bit later, but a quick look at the front page of The Guardian. Kevin, I know you wanted to comment on this, the fact that the COVID jab programme is now being extended to primary school children.
Yeah, announced in England 5 to 11 after Scotland and Wales got a bit of a lead on it, but it's voluntary, and it's going to be fascinating to see how many parents now get their children jabbed in that age group, because it's not becoming compulsory. You're not being told you should or must do it. It is far more voluntary.
And very quickly, Andrew, so this country rolling out the jabs to more age groups. Some of us have had 3 jabs, maybe even more, and yet there are some countries in the world who are barely managing to vaccinate their people once.
I know it's this terrible dilemma. Should we be giving more vaccines to the third world? We have given a lot, but actually the first duty of the government is to protect its citizens. And a lot of primary school age children have been struck down by COVID. So I think it's fantastic this is being made available, but it is up to parents, and they'll make the decision. And good luck to them.
We must leave it there.
I hope they do get them jabbed.
We must leave it there. More from you at 11. Thank you.